Okay, so this is going to be a long-term review of the 570 GT. I've had it a year, and I've done 15,000 miles in that year, which isn't bad. So yeah, this has been used all year round. I've used it in sun, rain, sleet, snow, ice, traveled with a wife, traveled solo, traveled with a cat. This has been used thoroughly. I'm not sure if there's a longer term review or a higher mileage review on YouTube, so hopefully this will be of use to you and contain good information. So I do apologize for the quality of this video. It is a bit of a last minute thing. I've been meaning to do it for months, but I just got called today that I had to take the car for the Part X I'm doing, and I haven't got time to set up proper cameras, so this is actually shot on an Insta360 camera, so I can capture everything as I need to and reframe. So it's not the highest of qualities, but hopefully it's good enough and the information is hopefully useful. I was looking at all the McLaren range of so the Super Series, Sport Series, and the earlier McLarens when I was buying this. I was originally looking at just getting a 12C. Very, very quick car, obviously the original of the latest genre of McLarens that came out. And then I saw Chris Harris's review of the 570 GT, and yes, I blame you, Chris. It was a fantastic review and it sold me on this car. And then when I went to see a couple of them, it was a no-brainer. This was their GT. This was their daily driver in a way. This is the, well, maybe not daily driver, but this is the one that, the usable McLaren. And it certainly has been that. I've done massive journeys in this car, all day, or days and days driving this. Typically when I was living in Northern Ireland, I would be driving across to Scotland, up to the Highlands, all the way down to Bristol, then across to London, and then all the way back up to Stranraer for the ferry back to Northern Ireland. Hundreds and hundreds of miles in a day, and it eats them up. It eats up the motorway, and it is comfortable to do it in. It doesn't feel taxing, it doesn't feel tiring. So yes, I would say, as far as a GT moniker on this, it is 100% deserved. I would go further. You know, it should be the 570 DD, the 570 daily driver, because it's just so usable. So the first one is, what's it like to drive? Well, it's incredible. I come from race and rally cars mainly, and some crazy things on the road, but driving this is just fantastic. It's probably the easiest car I've had to drive. The visibility is amazing. You can see all around you, nice and clear. You're right, you feel like your feet are kind of in the bonnet of the car. So you're right there, able to place it everywhere you want, really precisely. But it's just the ease of it. The steering isn't heavy. The way it moves around on the road, it's so precise. It's so easy to put it exactly where you want it. And unlike some supercars, you can see all around, so there's not really any blind spots to catch you out. And as such, I've insured friends, I've insured family, and I have no issues letting them drive it because it's very, very easy. There are a few things. So handling, for road driving, impeccable, absolutely immaculate. The steering's toned down just a fraction from the 570S. Pretty sure you have to be Lewis Hamilton to be able to tell that. So road driving is fine. You know, look at it. I can drive kind of with one finger if you feel like it. It's absolutely fine. It's responsive. You can put the car where you want. When you get on it and you start really driving the car hard, it does move around if you really provoke it, but you've really got to provoke it. You know, on track, for the Chris Harrises out there, yeah, you can skate it about, and even on the road a little, but they have tamed it, is the way I would put it. So if you want to be a hooligan out of a junction, you've got to throw it into track mode and turn off the traction and really hammer it to come out and slide it about a little. It will look after you. There's a lot of feedback. The steering is, I believe, is hydraulic. So you get all the feedback through the steering. It's really, really nice. The feedback it gives you, it reminds me more of Caterhams and Westfields. It's so direct. This does not feel like a big car. It is confidence inspiring and confidence building on what you can do in this car. For the review, I mean, the cockpit. Sitting in here is a lovely place to be. It's very well built with the double stitching. I mean, this is the leather. Obviously, there are lots of different colors you can get. I went for quite plain in this one, but I like it. I love it. It's very comfortable. The visibility is great. The roof really helps make everything feel open, and it's just nice. Everything sits right. Your elbows are resting right. The seat, I'm 6'1", as I say, and I've got plenty room here, and these seats are really comfortable. I've done 850 miles in a day in this car, sort of 10-12 hours in this car, and you step out fresh. The ride is fine. It's just a comfy place to be. A drive like this, you just stick on the cruise control, sit back, and just keep your eyes on what's going on, and it is a really, really nice place to be. A big part of the ownership experience for me is just being how the car makes you feel. As I said before, it's a lovely place to be in the cockpit. You do feel a bit special driving this with all the attention you get, and it's just nice to drive. It is so precise, so responsive. The engine, okay, there's a little bit of turbo lag that people do talk about, but that adds to the character of it. Now, some people complain about the noise. They say it's not noisy enough. You can hear me talking as normal now. You can have a conversation with your passenger. But I use this every day. I do thousands upon thousands of miles in this car. You want it at this noise level 99.9% of the time. You want it loud 1% or 0.1% of the time. So this car has the standard exhaust. There's a sports exhaust option, and there's lots of aftermarket options if you want to make it really loud. But I don't want to be sitting there on a 5-hour journey to Scotland with an exhaust screaming in my ear. I'd rather have it like this, where I can hold conversations, I can speak on the phone. Shouldn't say that. You can listen to the radio, all that sort of stuff. So the noise levels are, to me, perfect. So is it quick? Well, yes. You can drive around slowly or at the speed limit. When you twist these into track or even sport, it's quick. It'll do over 200 miles an hour. It is supercar fast. Because some people call it the baby supercar, which is fair enough, but at the end of the day, this is a 204 mile an hour car. It is below 3 seconds to 60. It is a very, very quick car. McLaren have tamed it well, so although it's 550, 560 horsepower, it's quite hard to break traction. The traction control and the dynamics of it are very, very clever. You have to be really crazy in the dry to get into trouble with this. It will look after you. Now, you'll occasionally see the traction light come on if you're really pushing, especially in the wet. But it tends to stick. When motorway driving on this, you do get a lot of people with their cameras out, taking photos, videoing you. Probably the craziest one I had was when I drove this for 6 months in Northern Ireland and Ireland, and you don't see a lot of fancy cars over there for some reason. Maybe someone can tell me why. Please add in the comments. And I remember driving into Dublin, and it's like I had an escort. There was a car in front, a car behind, car side, all with the cameras out. It's kind of cool. I mean, it does make it a bit special driving the car around. So you got to be prepared for that. You will be stopped at petrol stations. You'll be stopped when you park. There's something about the McLaren brand that seems a lot more approachable to people, I think, than if you're driving a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a Porsche. People respond really well to it. I've had very little negative response in this car. One. one cyclist around Loch Lomond. Well, I wasn't speeding or doing anything wrong, but he just had to give it the coffee beans. But that's out of, as I say, 15,000 miles, one person with a negative experience. Everything else has been positive. So just be prepared for journeys that you're going to be talking at petrol stations. People are going to want to see it. And I love cars, so I will happily talk their ear off, probably to the point they wish they never started the conversation. But you know, you can let them get in the car. There's a lovely feature here when you're in neutral. It won't let you rev it over 4,500 RPM. So I got no issue letting people sit in it, start it up, play with the buttons. It's a lovely car, and let people join in there. Motorway driving in it is nice and easy. You tend to be obviously middle or outside lane. I use the cruise control a lot. It's not quite as good as BMW cruise control, but it's not bad. It's relatively intuitive, and you can just sit here. People tend to jump out the way, or they hang with you for a good look at it. You get people kind of come around, catch up, come alongside, but it's very, very easy. There's no challenge to driving this as a supercar. It is dailyable. It's the first few dealerships I went into, I don't dress in a suit, shirt, and tie, or anything like that. So they kind of double take you and then decide whether you're serious or not. Once they know you are, and you're not just there to take a quick picture in the car and do an Instagram post about it. Once they take you seriously and they know you're serious, it is a very interesting area to move into. I've been to various dealerships when I was buying this car, and since I've been looking to move on from this car as well, and it's generally been a fantastic experience. Even now, I didn't think I'd get in my life to be able to consider this level of machine and be going around supercar dealerships wondering which one I was going to buy, and I'm truly grateful for that. I'm thankful for it. It's brilliant. It's really an interesting thing to be able to look at these cars and think, which one do I want? Now, all the dealers are different. Some dealers are assholes. They have been. I've met a few, I won't name them, but the majority have been fantastic. Every McLaren dealer, I have to be honest, has been fantastic. But there's something about driving all the McLarens on the road, and driving this, it's just the way it makes you feel. It's such a nice car to drive. It does feel special. It looks special. It gets such a nice response. It's so favorable. People let you out at junctions. They smile at you. They come over and talk to you at petrol stations, car parks. It's a friendly car for some reason. It's a friendly supercar. Yet it still has that potency. It still is 200 miles an hour if you want to do it wherever it's legal. It is 0 to 60 in the low 3s. This is a rapid car, but it looks good. To me, this is the best looking McLaren in the range. It has these lines that just finish it better than a lot of the others in the range. It's the smoothness of the back. The back end of this car, to me, is the best looking one. The smoothness of the deck at the back that they put in on the GT just finishes it perfectly. It gets mistaken a lot for the P1. It has, you can see why. The GT has maybe 70-80% of the lines of the P1. And I've had people mistake it for a P1. My own cousin thought I'd bought a P1, which I don't know where he thought I got the money for that from, but should feel flattered, I guess. But so yeah, it has the beautiful lines. It's very, very pretty to look at. It finishes well. You know, the 720 is a lot more aggressive, but I don't think it's as smooth, as finished as this. The 12C is starting to look a little older, starting to look a little dated now to me, especially the rear end of that. The 765s, or the 765 LT is, yeah, that's special looking. That's very, very aggressive. That's very angry. But there's a smoothness, there's a fluidity to the shape of this that is just beautiful. I think it's, to me, out of the entire McLaren range, it's the best looking one. Quirks, well, a lot of people complain about this system, the Iris. This is the Iris 2. It does everything it should do. It's got shortcuts. It works as you'd expect. But occasionally people will complain about the response. As you can see, look how long that takes. But it works. The sound system is fantastic on it. It never distorts. It's very, very loud, really bassy, really good sound to it. You can either stream from your phone or plug in a USB stick. But the one thing that is terrible about it, and to me it's the only real negative I've had with this car, is the sat-nav system. The sat-nav is useless. It was out of date when they released the car, and they've never updated it. They've never bothered doing an update to the sat-nav system, and it's a shame because it's so nice to have it here, and it also duplicates it onto the actual heads-up, the display, the dash display. But because it's so useless, I mean, I've been multiple times on roads that the sat-nav just doesn't know exists, that you can't use it. It's terrible. So you end up using Waze, which I thoroughly recommend if you want to keep your license, or Google Maps if you prefer, and that's annoying. It'd be nice if you could have it in one system and you didn't have to mount a phone. There is a company in China who is doing a replacement screen that gives you Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. It looks okay. It's quite a hard install because you got to go into the harness behind the seats and you got to take everything out. But I think they're only on the second generation of it now. Maybe the third or fourth generation will get a bit easier to install. But having Android Auto or Apple CarPlay in here would just be fantastic. That is really one of the only few negatives I have to the ownership. You have to use your phone for your sat nav. Depreciation is another one you're going to have to live with. Now, McLarens are famous for it. So I had hoped that I had bought this car near the bottom of that depreciation curve. I bought this in March 2022 at 13,000 on the clock, and I bought it for £97,000. I am now part exchanging it, and the values are on this car are around 85 to 87,000, so £10,000 in a year. Now, you might argue, oh my God, that's a £10,000 loss, but you don't buy these cars to make money, and you're not going to, obviously. They're going to depreciate unless you buy one of the special McLarens, one of the limited edition, the LTs, or even higher up than that. They're going to depreciate like any normal car. If you buy a newish BMW, it is going to depreciate. McLarens do take a slightly bigger depreciation hit than the Porsches and the Ferraris. That is a fact. But that's just a fact of life. That's car ownership. To me, I'm willing to take that hit for the experience that the car gives me, which has just been fantastic. So, running costs, as I say, during the actual just general running of the car, it's used 300 milliliters of oil in 15,000 miles. So that's nothing. Had to swap out washer fluid. The car came with quite worn rear tires, so I replaced those, and then got a nail in one and had to replace that because McLaren warranty wouldn't cover it with a repaired tire.
Watch out, vehicle on shoulder ahead.
We have to change lanes here. Something's going on up ahead. Thank you. See, people let you out. It's strange. So yeah, back to running costs. The service, I had the 5th service to do in this, which I did do with McLaren because the car had every other service with McLaren. It had full McLaren service history. I just thought I would keep that in the car. It's not strictly necessary. That was £1,200 because there was a couple of fluids to change, and they had found a couple of minor things that weren't covered in the warranty. But your services are typically anywhere from 600 to sort of 1,500 quid annually. You throw in the warranty, depending which one you go, that's around 2.5 to 3 or 3.5. But the big issue I had, and the one issue I have had with this car, which is common on a lot of 570s, was paint corrosion. This is another bone of contention with McLaren. They call it paint corrosion. It's not bodywork corrosion, it's paint corrosion. And what this is just a slight bubbling. Paint starts to separate. You typically see it in the corners of some panels on the edges. It does look like bubbling rust in a way. But McLaren changed their warranty on that to 3 years, so not really nowadays, no GTs or 570s are really covered. Now, it's a bone of contention because McLaren don't cover it. After that, you have to pay for it, and McLaren don't release their paint codes. So getting a place to fix that correctly and match the paint outside of McLaren becomes to get a little trickier. Now, that's supremely annoying. Now, with my case, I read about this paint corrosion on the forums. I had no idea about it when I was first buying the car, so I didn't know to look for it. And when I searched my car for it, I found it on 2 panels initially. I went to McLaren. I was 2 months out of the paint corrosion warranty, or what they would cover at that point. They were saying 5 years. I was 2 months out of the warranty, and they would not cover it. And I had an almighty fight back and forth because I'd already had McLaren inspect my car when I bought it, and they didn't point it out, and they would not budge. Now, when I came to sell the car, as I'm on my way to drop it off now, I had to cover that. And when it went in to get the paint done, they actually found it was on 5 panels. It's tiny little bits. You really got to look for it. That cost me £6,000 plus VAT. So that's been my biggest expense, and I was not happy with that. If I had found it when I bought the car, or before I bought the car, it wouldn't have been an issue. If McLaren were a bit kinder on their cover, it wouldn't have been an issue. Thorny has a great video on this issue, and it's worth watching if you're looking at getting a 570. But that's one of the major things. Check the paint, because that can get expensive. Now, that aside, when I came to the final sale check, an indicator unit needed replacing. That was the switch unit. That was £1,000. I had curbed the 2 wheels. As I say, don't go near multi-story car parks. So I had a wheel repair, I had alignment, I had a bunch of other minor stuff. So I ended up with quite a large bill on that one. That was a £10,000 bill for 6,000 plus of which, so 6,000 plus VAT, of which was paint. So not terrible, but not the greatest. So bad things, as I've mentioned, they're few. They are few. You just got to go with your eyes open on depreciation, make sure your paint's good, know that the sat nav is terrible, and that's about it. Everything else has been a positive. Things to point out while driving the car. The main one is the nose. Is the nose lift. This car runs low. This car runs very low, about 3 inches on the nose off the ground. And as such, potholes, speed bumps, anything like that will damage the nose. So you have to keep an eye out ahead of you on the road, watching the actual road quite a lot, similar to how you drive a Caterham or something like that on the road. You just have to be careful and be ready. There's a shortcut where you can raise the nose. It takes about maybe 10-15 seconds to get fully up. And to me, that's the most important thing. As long as you are aware of that and keeping an eye, you're good to go. It's very, very straightforward. The other ones, the car is a little wider than a normal car. Not hugely, it's not kind of Lamborghini width, but it is a little wider than your average road car. And the turning circle isn't perhaps as sharp as you may be used to, especially if you're coming from a hatchback. So you sometimes have to 3-point turn, kind of Austin Powers your way out of something. One tip, I would recommend avoiding multi-story car parks. Nearly been stuck in those a couple of times. They tend to be quite narrow, high curbed, and you're asking for trouble. The alloy wheels are so soft on this car that if you just look at a curb, it's scratched, grooved, dented, and they're not cheap. So be aware of that and be careful. So the 570 GT is pretty easy to spec. I've not seen one without what they call the GT pack, which includes the nose lift, the soft closed doors, all those sort of things, stereo, etc. Pretty sure that's a given when you get one. You've got some options obviously on the finishes of the car with the colors of various things and the sports exhaust, etc. But typically the main decision comes down to your carbon options, your wheels and the such like. But as they don't make it anymore, you're stuck with what's on the market. I would say the only must-have is the interior carbon. It just makes it a much nicer place to be. So you get the wheel, you can see the surrounds, the switches, the switch panel all has the carbon on it. It just looks so much better. I think extended paddles are standard. Can't be 100% on that one. Now, externally, there's carbon options. You can get the blades, which are the kind of front turning vanes. You can get side vents, top vents, diffuser, side skirts, even the entire front nose splitter assembly. It's quite rare to see those. It's strange. It's as though the 570 GT owners just didn't feel the need for those parts. But if you do get them, it's really helps the car stand out. If you don't want to get them from McLaren, there are Chinese options out there. They're about a quarter of the price. Can't comment on the quality of those yet, but I do know that some people on the forums do use them, so they can't be that bad. The other big decision you'll have is what type of brakes, because you've got the option of carbon ceramics or steels. The car I have here has steels on it. I wasn't really planning to track this car, and I was doing, as I say, tens of thousands of miles. Now, the steels stop. There's nothing wrong with them. They really do stop the car quickly. From what I've read, the ceramics have a bit more of an edge, but the difference is obviously price. Carbon ceramics, you go through a set of those on a couple of track days and you're 15,000 pounds out. You go through a set of steels, you're a couple of thousand pounds out. So spec accordingly. The steels do obviously generate brake dust. They can dirty your wheels. You got to keep on top of that. But they're not noisy, and they stop really well. So that's a decision you'll have to make. There is a further level of carbon that you can do on the interior, where you get the speaker surrounds in carbon, and you can get carbon sills. I don't think it needs the speaker surrounds, but carbon sills would be nice though. They're a nice touch. You can go obviously Alcantara suede on the steering wheel. You can go crazy and fit the bucket seats, the carbon racing bucket seats. I don't think I would have liked those for the journeys that I do. I just think the adjustability on these seats, although a lot of people complain about it because they're funny controls down here and they're not really that intuitive. Once you've set your seats, you've programmed it, you don't need to touch them again. So I think these touring seats, if you're doing the miles, are the ones to go for. They're really comfy. You can see I've got some good room here. I'm 6'1", and my legs are fine, and head space is fine, so it's good to go. How is it on economy? Not bad. It would surprise you. On long journeys, I'll say I'm within the speed limit down the motorway, but if I'm doing long journeys, 500-600 miles in a day, all motorway driving, I'm probably getting around anywhere from 32 to 38 miles per gallon. So it's not quite diesel BMW territory, but it's not horrendous. When you start driving it around town and start traffic and using the throttle a bit more, yeah, it does get down into the teens. But it's not terrible. For a supercar, it's not bad. Just as the fuel low level light comes on. But that's why I'm here. Range-wise, your motorway driving, you're probably looking anywhere 300 to 400 miles on a tank. But again, city driving, you're half that, really. You just got to keep an eye on it. So as I said, a further tip, don't be afraid of the high mileage cars. They'll have had their chance to work out their gremlins, and as long as they've been properly serviced, I'd actually be more tempted to go for a higher mileage one than a low mileage garage queen. That low mileage garage queen, you know, the rubber seals might be worn, they don't know about it. Anything that was put together, if it was badly at the factory, would have been found, and you'll find it. So don't be afraid of the high mileage cars. Just check the service history. Another tip, if you are buying, know the car, or pay someone who knows the car to look at it. And by that, what I mean is, do your research, learn about the car, learn what things to look out for, like the paint, for example, or pay for the McLaren inspection. That's not cheap, that's £1,000. Or pay for someone like Thorny to inspect the car. That's, I think, 350 or so, or 375. They will go through the car thoroughly, and I mean amazingly thoroughly. And at that point, you will know if there's any issues with it. Rather than you buy the car, and a month or two down the line, you're hit with something you didn't know about. And do that whether it's on a private sale or whether it's on a dealer sale. It's worth doing. So where is the bottom on the price? Where do these cars bottom out on price? I do not know. I thought I bought this one at the bottom of the curve, but it still went a little lower. Now that is strange, and it's a shame. I mean, you could probably pick up a 570 GT now for 80 to 85,000 pounds. And that is so much car for the money. So much car. You are getting supercar performance. You are getting 200 miles an hour. You are getting 0 to 60 in low 3 seconds. You are getting the doors. You are getting the experience. Why is the car so cheap? I don't understand it. McLarens don't hold their value, and you know, they're slowing in their depreciation, but they're still going down, and it is so much vehicle for £80,000 or £85,000. Running costs? Well, I went for the McLaren warranty because when I first got the car, I was living in Northern Ireland, and the other warranties that were available did not include any way of getting the car back to mainland UK, because there are no McLaren service outlets or dealers in the whole of Ireland. So for any work, I would have had to take the car back to the mainland. And the McLaren warranty offered that. That was, they would come out with a flatbed and take it back on the ferry. I didn't need that in the end. The car's been flawless while I was out there. The McLaren warranty was £3,500 a year. It's meant to cover everything. We'll get to that in a minute. But the beauty with the McLaren warranty is there's no upper limits. So if you blow an engine, they'll put a new engine in there. You blow a gearbox, they'll put a new gearbox in there. That's very unlikely though. Now, there are other warranties out there. The Thorny Motorsport one comes highly recommended. I think that's about 2,700 or so. But the difference there is you do need to get the car to them, and there is a limit on the claim. Now, with a lot of warranties like that, they claim that's not an issue because they can fix the issue within that limit. So for example, if you blew an engine, you wouldn't get a new engine, they would replace what was blown. So again, they come highly recommended. Now I'm on the mainland UK. I think my next McLaren I'll be going with Thorny warranty. And there are other warranties out there, but I would recommend, for peace of mind, getting a warranty on the car. Just that way you know if anything breaks, it's paid for. My warranty paid for itself when the car went in for its annual service. The V unit was faulty, or I should say was leaking, which is a common problem with these. And that's a big job on a McLaren GT. That is nearly 2 days' work. I think it came to about £4,000 or £5,000. So the warranty paid for itself because that was included. There was also a couple of other minor things. There was a track rod or a tie rod or something had become a little loose, and that was replaced under warranty. Now, the issue with the warranties is they don't cover wear and tear, so they will not cover your brakes. There's arguments out there you see in the forums where people are having a back and forth with McLaren, getting hoses or clamps and other things like that. So there does tend to be a little bit of a back and forth with what is covered and what is not. But I think you still want the warranty on there. There's a few people in the US I've seen go out on their own and solo it without a warranty. Well done to those guys, they're brave. There isn't a huge aftermarket sphere for parts. There's a few things you can get that are non-McLaren that will save you money, but there's not a lot. So you will want to join the forums and the groups There's various owners groups on Facebook. There's the McLaren Technical Owners Group, the McLaren Life Forum, things like that, where you can get good advice on how to fix things if you're on your own. But I will always stay with the warranty. I just think it's safer, and I drive with a lot more peace of mind. So I'm reviewing this from the point of view of a daily driver. This is my daily driver, or has been for the last year. It's being used every single day. It goes Tesco's, it goes to the gym, it does the long journeys, the short journeys. It's lived on my drive. I've used this car every single day. I haven't had a backup car, or whatever the weather is, this car's been used.
In 1 mile.
And it hasn't been difficult. In fact, it's been easy. It's been fantastic to use this car daily. So is it dailyable? Absolutely. Absolutely. The questions on suitability tend to come down to how you travel. So I've used this on long journeys with 2 people. So I got the wife in the passenger seat. Luggage space does get a little cramped, but it's not terrible. We tend to get a big soft bag in the front with and then a carry-on. We will put kind of gym bag luggage under our legs, the little roll-up ones. And it depends if we're traveling with a cat or not, because we do travel with a cat. The cat tends to live in the back in her carrier. And then you get laptop bag and other stuff behind that. Or just more bags in the bag. So definitely easy enough to travel, certainly for a week or 2. We've gone abroad on holiday where we've left this at the airport and carried our kind of big bags as well. You can't fit suitcases, but you can easily fit lots of carry-ons and kind of soft gym style bags as much as you need.
To M1 south.
I was with Admiral Insurance, and the insurance wasn't bad at all, actually. The initial insurance for a multi-car policy was £900 a year, and that's me coming with 0 no claims, not because of accidents, just because I was coming back to the country, but a clean license at over 40 years old. That's not bad. I was expecting a lot worse. So I thoroughly recommend Admiral for the insurance. I'm not paid to say that, that's just who I'm insured with. As I started adding people and friends to the insurance, and I upped the mileage because that was 9,000 miles, I then had to up it to 15,000 miles. The insurance did increase. I think I'm paying about 1,500 quid a year now. And play with the insurance a little. There's things like sometimes adding somebody permanently to your insurance rather than for 2 weeks. Sometimes it was cheaper to add them permanently. And I had 4 people on my insurance at one point, just friends who would borrow the car if I was away. So yeah, have a play with the insurance. My best experience is Admiral, and hopefully it won't come out too bad. I guess that'll be a downside, is feeling the need to keep the car spotless. I don't know how many times I've polished this and cleaned it. Made a lot easier when I got it ceramic coated, admittedly. Ceramic coating means you really just rinse and dry, that's all it is. Another lifesaver was the drying towel from Sam's Detailing. They were brilliant. They make, again, drying the car and cleaning the car so much easier, so highly recommend getting one of those. Now, driving around, 90% of the time, comfort, automatic mode, and away you go. When you feel the urge, you might switch into sport, you might flip on manual, you might drop a gear. There's no room to give it a blast, but you might give it a blast if you're on a back road or something. Just the speed camera comes up, so I should really slow down. You might go to full track mode. You might have a blast down the back roads, manually changing everywhere. But honestly, 90% of the time, automatic, there's no clutch pedal on this, cruising around, driving normally, and it is beautiful to drive like that. Another quirk is the internal battery on the McLaren. They are quite fragile, I've been told. So if you're leaving your car for anything more than a week or 10 days, you do want to plug in the battery tender, because if you let your battery run flat, it's a couple of £1,000 for a new battery. Although there is a solution out there that lets you convert from a lithium battery to a normal lead acid battery. But in short, just leave it plugged in if you're doing anything funny. Furthermore, if you are sitting there for hours on end, don't leave your phone plugged in or try and charge stuff from the car while the car is off, because you will drain down your battery and that can cause an issue. That can get expensive. So take care of your McLaren battery, take care of your McLaren paint. McLarens, whether deserved or not, have something of a reputation for electrical gremlins. Now, I've had very few messages come up on the dash. I had one when I put in regular fuel, which it is meant to be okay with. I only came up with once. I've had to put regular fuel in here twice. I had a steering column error. This is an electric steering column, and it gave me instructions on what to do to reset it. I think that's about it. I haven't had any other real warnings on the dashboard. Now, what I did buy was I bought an OBD Bluetooth connector to get any further warnings, so you can plug that in and you can use the torque app on your phone and it will give you all the errors that are in there, if there are any. Now, I haven't had to use that. I use the torque app just out of interest to get things like instantaneous miles per gallon and see what the boost levels are doing. You know, it's interesting. If you're doing any competition, you know, you might want to use something like that to do a bit of data logging. But yeah, it may be worth, if you're that technically inclined, to get the OBD app. There's also somebody out there in the forums selling the actual full computers that you can plug in and reset codes. I've never bothered with that. It's been reliable. The reliability on this has been very, very good. So I haven't needed any of that or felt worried that I'd need to. God, I'm gonna miss this car though. It has been so good. It has been so good. So I guess the question is, if I'm so happy with this as a daily driver and I love the car so much, why am I changing it? Well, it's a good question. I would be perfectly happy to live with this. It's a great, great car. But I have had the urge and the opportunity to move to a 720. Now, I don't know how many years I'm going to be able to own a supercar, because I'm not going to be living for the next 10 years in the UK, or I don't plan to. So there's a brief window I have to own this type of car, and I want to experience it all. And I had a friend who has a 720, and I've been in his 720. I've been told they're the absolute ultimate, so I'm going to jump at that and just try the 720. Do I need more speed? Probably not. I've heard the ride is fractionally better on the 720, which I'm looking forward to finding out, because the ride on this is fantastic. But that's it. I just feel the need to experience each one that I can afford just on the range. So I'm going to push up to the 720 and see what that's like. Who knows, I might still come back in a year or two to the 570 GT, because as a daily, it is brilliant. It is really, really nice. So as I'm on my last drive in this car, because I'm dropping it off for the part exchange for my 720, closing thoughts. Over a year of daily driving, 15,000 miles, I'm going to miss this car. It has been fantastic. I've loved it. I've loved every single mile in this. I've looked forward to every time I get to drive it. It's probably helped me go to the gym more, because I get to drive this to the gym every day. It's made me look forward to every journey, even if it was going somewhere I didn't really feel like going, because just the drive itself is a reward. I will truly miss this car as a daily driver. It has been fantastic, and I've loved owning it, and it's been good to me. I will miss you. I will miss you.